Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a stack of material, everything from, 2,000-year-old philosophy to modern thinking on excellence, and we're going to distill it for you. We've been swimming in Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and a whole collection of notes on habits, on consistency, and just the sheer effort it takes to build a meaningful life.
And our mission today is, well, it sounds simple. We want to help guide you from just existing to truly living. We're really confronting this strange contradiction in our lives.
It's been around forever, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's this huge gap between how we manage our money so meticulously and how we just throw away our time, our most finite resource. As Oscar Wilde said, to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. We're trying to figure out how to flip that ratio.
That distinction right there, existing versus living, that's everything. And the finance analogy you mentioned is, I think, the perfect place to start. We read this observation that people spend way more money with credit cards.
So much more.
Because it's abstract, right? It doesn't feel real. It feels like this infinite line of credit. But when you have to pull physical cash out of your wallet, suddenly it feels heavy.
Yeah.
It feels real.
It's a purely psychological trick, but it's incredibly powerful. And we treat our days, our actual minutes, exactly like that abstract credit card. We just operate under this delusion that the line of credit is unlimited because, let's be honest, nobody wants to think about the expiration date. So we let distractions and other people's obligations just pile on.
Oh, yeah.
We never check the balance.
And we're definitely not calculating the interest we're paying and lost potential.
Not at all.
So we're basically just living on time credit. And Seneca, centuries ago, he saw this. He saw this reckless spending. And he essentially told his student, you have to make the switch. Switch to time cash. He demanded worth for every single minute.
His maxim is so jarring because it forces that idea of an immediate transaction into something we treat as, well, infinite. Seneca says, I say, let no one rob me of a single day who isn't going to make a full return on the loss.
Right.
Yeah. It's the philosophical equivalent of cutting up your credit cards. He's saying you have to demand a fair trade for every meeting, every task, every minute you spend.
Okay, but I have to ask, isn't that just exhausting? I mean, we all have jobs, families, things that just pop up. If you demand a full return for every single conversation, how do you ever just relax? Doesn't that become its own kind of stress?
That's a really important question, and it gets to the difference between being rigorous and just being stressed out. Seneca isn't saying you should become some kind of transactional robot.
Right.
He's demanding awareness. The full return isn't always about productivity. Sometimes the full return is genuine joy or a deep connection with someone or just necessary rest. The key is that you get to decide what a full return is instead of just letting the world decide for you.
So you're setting the terms of the transaction.
Exactly. Practically, it means you block out time for your high-value activities first, and you get really comfortable saying a polite but firm no to things that just don't make the cut.
That urgency of conscious choice, that's the whole foundation. If you don't actively demand value for your day, the day just kind of evaporates in busy work. And that slow, steady evaporation day after day, that's exactly what Wilde meant. That's existing, not living.
And that leads us right into the how, because you don't make this shift with one big dramatic gesture. It's built incrementally, one day at a time.
This is where ancient wisdom and old folk wisdom line up perfectly.
Yeah.
We found that one of George Washington's favorite sayings was this old Scottish proverb, many mickles make a muckle.
Little things add up to big things.
Exactly. We always forget the power of accumulation.
Well, the entire Stoic project is based on this idea. Zeno, who founded Stoicism, he said it perfectly. Well-being is realized by small steps, but is truly no small thing. We're always hunting for the big life hack, the sudden breakthrough.
Yeah.
But for them, virtue, which really just means human excellence, is built on tiny daily acts. What you read, what you practice, the rules you live by.
We're talking about the compound interest of effort. And Seneca, again, he gives us this really simple, almost anti-overwhelm strategy to make sure that interest is building up every day. He tells his student to read a bunch of things, but then just select one idea to be thoroughly digested that day.
That's the brilliance of it. It's a manageable benchmark. You're not trying to become a perfect person in one afternoon. You're laying one brick today.
Just what?
You take that one quote, that one idea, maybe it's about gratitude, maybe it's about courage, and you just chew on it. You internalize it. You look for one place to apply it. It makes this huge, daunting project of self-improvement feel actually possible.
Because none of those little acts feel like a big deal in the moment, do they? The 10 minutes of journaling, reading one page, taking that one thoughtful breath when you're stressed,
Right.
it feels like nothing.
Yeah, insignificant.
But you sustain that over a year or a decade, and that's what creates resilience. And to an outsider, that resilience looks like magic or like some innate talent you were born with.
But to the person doing the work, it's just the natural outcome of showing up every day.
And the sources are really gentle here, too. If you failed yesterday, if you fell off the wagon, Eleanor Roosevelt gives us this great perspective on the daily reset. She said, with the new day comes new strength and new thoughts.
Yesterday's failures don't matter. The practice is always just waiting for you to come back to it.
Okay, so if we accept that it's all about these small, consistent steps, how do we actually make them stick? How do we get these powerful ideas to stop being just, interesting concepts you read about and turn them into an actual internal reflex?
This is where we go from theory to muscle memory. And for that, Marcus Aurelius is the perfect guide. His book, The Meditations, it wasn't just him contemplating his navel, it was a manual. It was a tool he came back to constantly.
In good times and bad.
In moments of crisis, moments of grief, even just moments of ordinary boredom, he was taking these big philosophical concepts like patience or acceptance, and he was drilling them into himself, turning them into a reflex so they'd be there when he really needed them.
And Epictetus gives us the actual step-by-step instructions for this. He says, every day and night, keep thoughts like these at hand. Write them, read them aloud, talk to yourself and others about them.
And notice the sensory part of that. It's not just about passively reading a quote on your phone.
Right.
Writing them down. You feel the words through your fingers. Reading them aloud, you hear them in your own voice, which kind of bypasses your lazy critical brain. You return to them when you're stressed, when you're happy, when you're angry. That's how the words stop being just words and become, works. They become part of you.
It's the difference between knowing about being calm and actually being able to find that steady hand inside yourself when the storm hits. These little acts of journaling and reflection, they're not academic. They're training for life itself.
Exactly. A muscle only gets stronger with repeated stress. The mind is the same way. This process ensures that the tool you need, courage, patience, whatever it is, it's not just an idea you have, it's a resource you can actually grab and use in the moment.
So we've covered the how of training the mind. Now we need to get to the what. What should we be training for? And we found this incredible, punchy piece of advice from a director named Ernie Pintoff. He just told a friend, keep working.
It just cuts right through all the noise, doesn't it? Because it recognizes how unreliable everything else is. I mean, think about the things we chase. Love, fame, money, even talent.
They're all conditional. They're external.
Totally. Love can fade. Fortune is, notoriously fickle. And talent. Talent will only get you so far if you don't have the stamina to back it up.
But the work, the sustained effort,
Yeah.
That's the foundation. It's the baseline you come back to when everything else fails. The sources put it so simply, work will work when nothing else works. It's the one thing you actually control in a world you don't.
And this flips the whole script on ambition. We're always asking, what am I good at or what am I best suited for? But the much better question, the more durable question is, what am I best suited to suffer through?
That is a massive mental shift. Because if you're talented at something, the beginning is easy. But the second it gets boring or difficult, you might just quit.
World-class performance isn't about having some magical ability. It's about enduring the training. It's about being the best at the process of the work itself, day after day.
The grind.
The grind. And to even start that grind, you need a kind of practical faith. David J. Schwartz points out that believing in a solution paves the way to a solution. This isn't just blind optimism.
Right.
It's recognizing that if you believe something is possible, your brain automatically starts looking for ways to do it. If you believe it's impossible, your brain just shuts down.
And if you don't have that belief or that commitment, you fall right into the avoidance trap. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself here. Ask yourself, are you inventing things to do to avoid the important work?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's so easy to feel productive answering emails or reorganizing your desk, doing all this stuff that lets you avoid the actual hard creative thing you know you're supposed to be doing.
And this avoidance, it's not just a personal failing. The sources connect it to a bigger obligation, using this beautiful Navajo proverb. It's wrong to have more than you need. It means you're not taking care of your people.
Wow.
When you have excess capacity, potential, talent, time, and you let it sit there unused, you're hoarding it, you're failing your future self, and you're failing the community that could have benefited from whatever you were meant to create.
So the antidote to all that is, it's simple, but it's incredibly demanding. Steve Martin gave us the ultimate metric for it. Just be so good they can't ignore you.
It's a challenge to build undeniable excellence through sheer persistence. But that level of discipline, if you demand that from yourself, how do you keep from becoming, judgmental or just impossible to be around?
Right. And that brings us to the final piece, this crucial balance between discipline and, well, grace.
The story of Cato the Younger is the perfect example. Here's a guy who was famous for his personal rigor. He hated luxury, he hated excess. But he deeply loved his brother, who was the complete opposite, lived a much more indulgent life. Cato held himself to an insane standard, but he never imposed it on the people he loved.
And that's Marcus Aurelius' golden rule for dealing with other people, isn't it?
It's his defining principle. Be strict with yourself, tolerant with others. You have to accept that other people might be, as he put it, cut off from truth. They might be operating from ignorance or weakness, but you don't cast them out. You can see the bad choice, but you still treat the person with respect.
Hate the sin, love the sinner.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And ironically, that kind of self-discipline, it leads to real humility. The smarter you get, the more competent you become, the less you feel you have to talk or prove anything. That impulse to dominate the conversation just fades.
And that frees you up to avoid the real poison here, which is comparison. If you're always comparing yourself to others, their money, their talent, their luck, you just become bitter.
It's a recipe for misery.
But if you compete against yourself, against who you were yesterday, that's how you get better. It's the only game worth playing.
To bring it back down to a practical level, there's this really simple gut check for integrity. If you're not sure about doing something, just ask yourself.
If you have to sneak to do it, lie to cover it up, or delete it to avoid it being seen, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. It just cuts through all the excuses.
It really does. And finally, when you're frustrated with other people, there's this beautiful, gentle perspective from Rosanne Cash. She reminds us that loss is the great unifier, the terrible club that we all belong to.
We're all in it together.
We're all vulnerable, we've all failed, we've all grieved. And remembering that shared humanity, it should make us gentle. Because in the end, there's nothing stronger in the world than gentleness.
That's a beautiful way to bring it all together. We start with this extreme, almost harsh self-discipline time as Cash, embracing the grind. And it paradoxically leads us to a place of acceptance and freedom.
There's this one message of encouragement we found that just captures it perfectly. Live and laugh again. Enjoy yourself. Be free. Then I know that every breath you take, you're taking one for me. True freedom isn't chaos. It's found inside the boundaries and the resilience you build with that daily discipline.
Because you're free to really live without being afraid, precisely because you've done the work. The training has given you the steady hand you need to handle joy, crisis, everything in between.
So if we take that core lesson, that the only thing you truly control is the effort, the daily work, and we put it together with Seneca's demand to treat your time like cash, does that mean something profound? Does it mean valuing the process of the work more than the promise of the outcome?
That's the ultimate shift in how you measure things. What does it actually look like to measure your life, not by the results you get, but by the undeniable quality of your effort day in and day out? That's the work that really lasts.
Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Absolutely. Keep working and keep digging. We'll talk to you soon.